You're listening to The John Thompson Show with Doc Walker
on ESPN980 and ESPN980.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us J.I. Halsell, and before we go to him right now, he's a capologist. In other words, the money man.
Money man.
Chucky, what you got for me?
Two quick things before we get back to J.I. First of all, the Wizards have bought out Mike Bibby. So his tenure with the Wizards is over after one game. So that's about it. But that's actually a really good deal for the Wizards because basically Mike Bibby has waived his entire salary next year as part of the buyout. So that helps the Wizards with cap relief next year. They should be about $20 million under the cap going into next year. And sources have just told us that the Caps have picked up Jason Arnott from the New Jersey Devils. We're trying to find out the details of that trade, and we'll let you know as soon as we find out.
Somebody ought to try to get in touch with David Falk. He represents Bibby.
Okay.
You know, and just see what the situation is in the future for him. Thanks, Chuck. That's interesting, though, isn't it? See, now we got a capologist here.
Man, can give up a whole salary.
Yeah, translate that, capologist. The coach down there looking for a ball player, and you done paid my man off and told him, you know, well, he gave up his money anyway. Now, you happy because he gave up his money. I'm mad because I don't have the player.
Hey, I'm all about players, you know, getting paid. Absolutely. I'm not about players getting overpaid. But, you know, salary caps and contract negotiations, you know, it's an added dynamic to professional sports now. And, you know, we talked about this during the break. When you think about why salary caps, particularly in the NFL, exist is because it creates that any given Sunday kind of aspect to the league. It levels the playing field. And so that's why you then have to take into consideration the financial piece. It's not like the 80s, you know, Redskin kind of dynasty where you could just, you know, if you see talent, go ahead and get them, sign them. It's not like that anymore. Now the head coach, has to, you know, touch base with the cap guys, you know, to make sure that we can make this work and this is going to be smart for our long-term future.
But see, I want you to go back to something you just said that caught my attention. You're for players getting paid, but you're not for players. Brother Walker, he's not for players being overpaid.
I'm about market value.
Okay, now wait a minute. Now, how can a player be overpaid unless you got incompetent people who can't judge talent? I want to know how they can be overpaid.
It's funny because
don't give me no political answer.
Somebody said to me yesterday on Twitter, you know, a player's value is whatever somebody is willing to pay for.
Whatever you can get. Exactly. That's the way we roll in this society.
And I said, well, there's a distinction between value and market value. And so what I'm talking about is market value, whereby based upon a comparative set of your peers, that's what the market dictates your value. Now, if an owner or coach wants to, you know, pay you outside of that market value, if you look at kind of Stanford route and the Oakland Raiders and the deal that he just recently got, which is way above market value, then great for that kid.
Listen to this young man.
What I'm just saying is that there are market values for players.
But let me ask you this. Now. When this player, Doc, is overpaid that the young man is telling us is, do you go in and tell the person who overpaid him that you don't know what the hell you're doing?
No. What you then do is
you don't like it? He said he didn't like it.
Here's what you do. You then think creatively and strategically to try to basically figure out how to get yourself out of a mess. And, you know, you can make the argument that actually here in Washington with the way the Albert Haynesworth deal, you know, his compensation, $100 million, $40 million guarantee. What the Redskins did this past year was they restructured his deal that made it a lot easier for them to get out of that deal or to trade Albert Haynesworth. So therefore, you can kind of go back and try to fix, you know, a bad deal, but at the end of the day, you'd prefer not to make that mistake on the front end. And
okay, let me ask you this then. What I advertised that we would be asking you this segment. What is your relationship like with the owner of a team? In other words, do you ever bump heads with the owner? How do you advise him? You're the capologist. Now, we talked about the coach. The coach is concerned about the talent. You have to monitor him and pull him back in. But how about the owner who may be overpaying talent?
You know, it varies from club to club, but, you know, in terms of owners and how involved they are in the football operations. And, you know, it's been well documented, you know, our owner here in Washington was involved for a long time. But as a salary cap guy, you offer advice. Whether or not that advice gets, you know, taken or you actually act upon that advice is another story. So sometimes, yeah, you can find yourself in a situation where, you've advised in a different direction, but the owner made a decision to go in another direction. And so you try to make the best of that situation. So, you just offer advice, but at the end of the day, you're not the one cutting the checks. So at the end of the day, the owner has all the juice. You can just offer your humble opinion.
How are you judged? Then you could come up with a good plan, either the coach or upper management. They don't follow it.
Yeah.
Then how do you increase your value?
Because the other 31 teams sticking with the NFL see the environment that, the circumstances that you have to work within. And so their cap guy at the Redskins, Eric Schaefer's been there since 2003.
Good man.
And when you look at, the environment that Eric has worked in under all this time, some as an outsider looking in would say, oh, he's got to be a horrible cap guy. Look at all these bad deals he's done. But when you look at a big picture in terms of the environment that he works in, some can make the argument that, man, he's done a tremendous job, and you can't judge, his performance as a salary cap guy based upon wins and losses, but based upon just the environment that he's worked in and the fact that he's still been there for all this time.
I want to say something to you, and I don't want you to be offended by what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm telling you that up, and it's totally meant as a compliment. How many African Americans hold your position?
Not many. When I was in the league, I was in Washington. Good buddy of mine, Kai Harley, down at the Saints, and there's a young lady, Jackie Davidson, at the Jets, and Woody Dixon at the Kansas City Chiefs, who now is part of the Pac-10, but not many at all.
Right. No, I wish we had radio vision so you could be seen by the youngsters. No, this is Black Folks Month until tomorrow.
Right.
So
until 11:59
and Doc
tonight,
and
right.
I've been picking on you, trying to beat you up in here. But I want to just say to you, I'm extremely pleased.
Thank you. I
to
appreciate
see
it, Coach.
that you are holding the position and you are very competent in what you're doing. I'm very pleased to see that because I haven't seen anybody that look like you. In the position that you're in. And at my age and things I've seen, and a guy like Dean Smith who was celebrating, fought for people like you to hold those kinds of positions because you were competent.
I appreciate
what
it,
you
Coach.
were doing. It means a lot to me. And I don't think Chuck did that purposely. He did it accidentally, sent a black man in here that's capologist. You know what I mean? But by the fact that it's February, I'm happy as hell to see you, boy. But
Thanks,
now
Coach.
I'm
I really appreciate
gonna pick on you some more.
Set him up to knock him down. No, really, genuinely, I appreciate it.
No, and I mean it sincerely, and I hope that so many young people can see that you can translate sports in a lot of ways other than being laid out on the field.
Absolutely.
And I have no problem with being laid out on the field because I respect those guys. But so many times you hear academic people say that this kid puts so much time into sport that they don't know how to define sports. You are in sports, and I'm happy. I sincerely mean that because I haven't seen. I mean, you like a rare animal to me, man. He's like something that we haven't seen a lot of.
No, he's been there, been doing a good job. But it's not. It's good. Like I said, I just would like. First of all, I'm disappointed that he's no longer with them. But I'm glad he's on his own, doing his own thing and teaching.
You're not unemployed, are you, boy?
No.
That's what I'm saying. Not as smart as you are.
I get the bills paid, and I have health insurance.
And you're
so
a
on
professor
and so forth.
also, right?
I teach sports economics at Mason. So,
exactly.
But no, and that's one of the reasons why I do teach sports economics at Mason is because, a lot of youth feel like their only way to get into the sports industry is by being a ball player. And when you can expose young people to different aspects of sports, whether that's the salary cap or any other aspect of professional sports, it really broadens their horizons.
Well, I was saying before the show that most of these athletes who somebody somewhere is trying to convince to go to class and to study and do what they're supposed to don't realize that spotlight on that athletic field is very, very brief.
It's fleeting.
And they think that it lasts for a long time, but it doesn't last. They think they're going to be kings forever. And if you waste that time and don't use it as obviously you have to establish other kinds of tentacles that you can stay involved, you're going to be left in the cold. You're going to be looking over your shoulder. Somebody's going to say you went from who's who to who's he.
Absolutely.
So I'm really proud of you. But back to these owners. I wouldn't want your job for anything in the world because the coach is going to beat you out. As a coach, boy, I'd be trying to get you to break every kind of rule. Doc, trying to stretch it. And then as an owner, I'd be saying, save my money.
And it forces you to be a creative thinker.
You have to be. You have to be.
And you have to have job security.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because that gives you the confidence.
Yeah, you're right. You have to have authority.
And that is why and where I think the problem has been with Washington.
Because I wouldn't get along with him. I can tell you that right now.
No, but
I can't count no way when I see a guy that can run and jump a tall. I mean, But you do it. Figure it out.
You would get the guy that could play.
Yeah.
The problem they've had is picking people that cannot play at the level based on what they're paid.
Well, Jay, I come in here talking about he don't like players that are overpaid. Well, the coach didn't overpay him. Yeah. So what do you do? How do you express yourself to folks who are overpaying people who can't play? Am I right, Brother Walker?
Well, again, that's when you have no authority.
Hey, yeah. We beat the little brother up too much up in here today.
Yeah, well, he's a Gonzaga man, too. I can sense a little. I know you went after him on that.
Go see those Purple Eagles.
Purple Eagles tonight, huh? They going to win it?
I'm making a prediction. I'm not speaking on behalf of them, but as a proud alum, I'm going with those Purple Eagles tonight.
To say, well, with that being said, I'm going to say thank you so much. And again, I respect you.
Thank you,
and
Coach.
I'm extremely proud and glad that I have had an opportunity to see a person of color in your position. That makes me feel real good. I want to assure you of that.